Cool Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host, the Yamin of Revolution. Tasha K apologizes to the F.B.A. Justice for Nolan Wells. But before we get into that, y'all be sure to wipe y'all feet. That means hit the like button. You in the House of Revolution. Like, share, subscribe, support the platform. Y'all, let's get right to the content. Salute.
My husband, an African booty scratcher. They said that I cannot speak on the foundational Black American movement because I'm married to a booty scratcher. Here's what I think about the F.B.A. movement and any other movement that has to do with Young Pharaoh, Brother Polite, Dr. Umar Johnson, all of these movements that y'all look up to, all these men, okay, that I guess guide you to help elevate your consciousness. Here's what I would say about the F.B.A. movement. It's no different than the KKK. Meant to divide, meant to separate you, to isolate you, to have you looking at other races that look like you and hating them for no reason.
A few moments later.
To anybody that felt offended by me referring to F.B.A. as the KKK, to anybody that I've offended, I didn't mean to offend you. I'm completely ignorant when it comes to this movement. I just know how I felt when I was attacked, when my family was attacked, and I decided to just, here we go. I want the people that y'all listen to, if they are true educators in this F.B.A. lineage, I want to talk to them.
So y'all know what we have to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. We have to talk about the Tasha K situation, ladies and gentlemen. We got to talk about the Tasha K situation. All right? Oh, for those who don't know, and most of you should know by now because it's all over the internet. Oh, it's massively over the internet. It's everywhere. Oh, somebody said, what happened? Okay. Well, Tasha K was doing her broadcast. And for those who don't know, Tasha K is a gossip columnist, does a lot of gossip. That's her bag. She was infamously in a case with Cardi B. Cardi B sued her, and Cardi B actually won the case. So Tasha owes, how much does Tasha owe Cardi B? Like $4 million or something like that, allegedly? How much does she owe Cardi B? She still owes Cardi B. Some people were saying she was allegedly hiding money in Africa. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. 4.5 million. Damn. Yeah. Yeah, she's on the hot seat with that paper. But for some reason on her broadcast, I don't know how Foundational Black Americans came up, but yeah, she just kind of went in on the lineage. She just popped on there and just started going in on Foundational Black American lineage. She started talking about F.B.A. is the same thing as the Ku Klux Klan and the KKK. She said it's meant to divide and separate you and isolate you. And she said it encouraged people to look at other Black ethnic groups and hate them for no reason. And everybody was like, what the hell?
Good morning. Yeah, then her ticket.
And there were people calling up.
All her subscribers left and they canceling her shows all over the country. Oh, bitch, you don't fuck with us? Well, who gonna come see your show then?
Her no, hey, that's F.B.A. as a lineage. And she kept trying to frame F.B.A. as an organization. That's a con game, and I'll get on that later. That's a con game. I'll get on that later. Let me play some of the audio of what she was saying. I'll play a little audio of it. Hold on. Just to give you some more context, I'll play the audio. Hold on.
They called my husband an African booty scratcher. Right. They said that I cannot speak on the foundational Black American movement because I'm married to a booty scratcher.
Now, her husband is African. Isn't he like from Mali or something like that? But her husband is African.
Here's what I think about the F.B.A. movement and any other movement that has to do with Young Pharaoh, Brother Polite, Dr. Umar Johnson, all of these movements that y'all look up to, all these men, okay, that I guess guide you to help elevate your consciousness. Here's what I would say about the F.B.A. movement. It's no different than the KKK. Meant to divide.
Okay, so I'm just giving you an understanding of, yeah, that just really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, as it should, as it should, as it should. Now, her husband, African, and she went on to mention that her children are African too. She has children by this gentleman, from what I understand. Also, did y'all know, let me play this clip of her. Did y'all know this about her? Hold on one second. Let me play this. Hold on. Listen to this.
What do you think about the F.B.A. movement? My kids are African. My grandfather is Bahamian. Knowing that we're Hebrew.
Okay.
That felt defended by me referring to F.B.A. as a KKK.
Wait. So she has Caribbean ancestry. She said her grandfather is Bahamian. She has Caribbean ancestry. So she has Caribbean immigrants in her family with an African husband and African children. So now we see the context. See, context is very important, all right? Context is very important, ladies and gentlemen. All right? See what we say when people have these backgrounds, these non-F.B.A. backgrounds? I wouldn't be surprised if her entire background is non-F.B.A. Shout out to Black Alpha. He was playing some clips of her, and she was saying something to the effect of being part Latino. She was saying a whole bunch of stuff that she was mixed with. It was Latino, some other stuff. So I'm thinking her whole background might just be Caribbean. Her ethnic background just might be all Caribbean. Yeah, she said something about having a Latino background too. That's interesting. So this is why I'm thinking, this is my conjecture, this is why there's such vitriol towards our lineage. And let's be very clear, this is towards our lineage. And there was a massive backlash when she went on this rant. And there were people calling, again, there was one sister, F.B.A. sister, called and was breaking the shit down real heavily, real easily, making a lot of sense. And Tasha was still insisting on trying to refer to our lineage as an organization. That was deliberate. Now, because of the backlash, listen, the backlash was massive. She was getting cooked. Tasha was getting cooked on every platform, on her comments, on Twitter, on Facebook, TikTok. She's getting cooked. From what I'm understanding, allegedly, she lost like 30,000 subscribers in 24 hours. This is what some people are reporting. That subscriber list started to go down. People started unsubscribing, allegedly. Yeah, somebody said she lost 30,000 subscribers. Oh, it's heavy. So eventually, the heat got so hot, she had to come out and make an apology video, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, let me play some of the apology, just a little bit. She had to apologize, and the apology was a little dry because she was still later on in her apology kind of talking about, yeah, if I would like to talk to some F.B.A. members and they can sit down, and she was still doing that false framing. But hold on, let me play some of the apology.
To anybody that felt offended by me referring to F.B.A. as the KKK, to anybody that I've offended, I didn't mean to offend you. I don't do that. I want any and everybody to be up in here having a good time. But lately, on social media, given the Nolan Wells situation, I mean, just any and everything that has to do with our culture, our people, Blacks as a whole, for some reason, I have been dragged into these conversations.
Okay, so she's just kind of explaining right there. Okay. So listen, one of the biggest problems with this is where some of the big backlash is coming from. And Tasha, if you're listening, and she didn't mention my name, which was good. All right, so I'm being respectful. I'm having a respectful retort here. All right. The thing is, the problem is trying to reframe our lineage deceptively. We know Foundational Black American is a lineage designation. It is not an organization of people that you sign up for. Everybody knows that, including Tasha. Tasha K knows this. There are no headquarters. There's no membership cards. There's no president. There's no leader at all. Repeatedly trying to frame our lineage as a group or an organization that's deliberately being disrespectful. By creating a fake organization that you're going to frame as F.B.A., critics like that, they create a straw man that they can attack instead of dealing with the lineage. When you acknowledge Foundational Black American lineage, then you're going to have to deal with actual history, slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow. You're going to have to deal with the history, Black American institutions, culture. But if you try to redefine our lineage as an organization, you just say, well, that group is hateful. That organization is divisive. You see? So you invent your own political club so you can attack it as a proxy. You see, because you're still attacking the lineage. You're just using this fake group as a proxy. She what? Did she what? I didn't see her mention my name. I didn't hear her mention my name. I didn't. She did mention me? Okay, I didn't know she mentioned me. Okay. She said what? What'd she say about me? Okay, I didn't know she mentioned my name. I didn't hear that. Okay. Okay. I didn't hear her mention my name. Okay. I didn't see that. Man. Yeah, I didn't see that part. I didn't see that part. She babbled my name at the end. Did she try to say my wife was white? Did she say, okay, I got to hear, I didn't hear that. So she's lying about that. Okay, well now that's, all right. Let me see, hold on, what was that? I'm looking at the comments. She said my wife was half white. Oh, okay, all right. She said my wife was half white. Oh, okay, I didn't see that one, but I'll look back at it. All right. I will look back at that. Okay, I didn't hear, but I'll look back at it. But again, I'm just going to keep it scholarly. I'm still going to keep it scholarly because we're explaining what this backlash is. She said my wife was white and Asian. Okay, so she's a liar. Okay, well, that's what she got sued for, lying. Okay, all right, so we kind of understand. Okay, I mean, okay. I mean, she's a gossip columnist and she has a non-F.B.A. background, and we know how a lot of these people lie. All right, we know how a lot of people damn lie. All right, and that whole thing where you want to collapse the KKK, all that. The KKK is an actual organization with founders, leaders, chapters, political objectives. F.B.A. is the lineage, ain't no chapters. So trying to compare our lineage to the KKK, you know, she's trying to do a sleight of hand. You see? And this is a problem with a lot of the gossip media as we know it. A lot of the gossip media, the Black gossip spaces, these people promote a lot of Black dysfunctions. Notice these gossip pages keep up a lot of bullshit within Black culture. And these people are generally from foreign backgrounds, just like Tasha. All right? People have been calling this out for years. These tethers who run these gossip blogs, they're not of our culture, but they come in and profit off of promoting dysfunctional underbelly of our society. You see? Shade room, gossip, media takeout, World Star, Tasha K, all of these people have African and Caribbean ancestry. You understand? And there is a lot of vitriol that they have towards foundational Black American society. They've always had this vitriol towards foundational Black American society. And we've been pointing out these gossip blogs for years. Yeah, the griot, they will sit here and show the underbelly of Black American society, but anything that has to do with Caribbeans or Africans is always elevated. They always show the most positive images that they can cherry pick. And that's not an accident. And they have been doing that for a long time. You see? And that immigrant background gossip media, you know, they've always had that double standard. They sit up here and denigrate Black American celebrities and just Black society as a whole. And the minute foundational Black Americans clap back at them and their lineage and their ethnicity, all of a sudden, oh, we can't be divisive. Oh, this is divisive. Oh, we can't be divisive. Natasha K, because some of that, I don't really listen to her because I saw her one time denigrating Jay-Z and Beyonce's children. I didn't like that at all. You start denigrating foundational Black American kids and all that. I don't respect that at all. So I've seen, I don't respect that type of shit. Yeah. Flacco knows better. Flacco does that too. Flacco tries to deliberately reframe our lineage as an organization, and Flacco knows better. He's Liberian. Again, you see the Tether class doing that. That ain't an accident. That's not an accident. When they try to deliberately reframe our lineage, they try to create a straw man by deliberately labeling a multi-generational lineage as a group or a club. They want to create a convenient target. Ain't no membership list, none of that. Hey, there's no group. So that's a way for them to attack our lineage by proxy. They're still attacking our lineage. Understand that. And they act ignorant like they don't know. Like Tasha was like, I don't know. I'm still learning. I would like to talk to some F.B.A. members to just bring her. That's cap, dude. That's all cap. Several people were calling her, telling her, Tasha, this ain't no group, sweetie. This is a lineage. F.B.A. is a lineage. It's not a hate group or none of that shit. And she, this organization, yeah, that's not an accident. Now, if you acknowledge the truth, that would dismantle your whole premise of your commentary. You see? And the thing is, creating this straw man organization, you won't be labeled as xenophobic by attacking the lineage, because that's what you really want to attack. That's what you're attacking. You see, they know that's your audience, really. Those are the people that's paying your bills by watching you. So you know you can't just outright attack the audience based on their lineage, but you have vitriol towards them. So you create a straw man to attack as a proxy. You see, that's the same thing the white supremacists did when they were going around here talking about, oh, I can't stand Black Lives Matter. Oh, Black Lives Matter, they're the worst. Black Lives Matter, a bunch of criminals. Okay, who are you talking to? Who's Black Lives Matter? Who's Black Lives Matter? Because you're not talking about the organization with the three women. Are you talking about them? No, just Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter it was just a hashtag. Black Lives Matter was just really it wasn't a real thing. You know what I'm saying? It was really just a hashtag. But they attacked the hashtag as a proxy for attacking Black people as a group. So when these people who are not of the lineage sit here and try to attack foundational Black American as a group, logically, that's impossible. You know why? There is no group. You're not attacking air. Ain't no group of foundational Black Americans. Ain't no leader of no. I'm damn sure not a leader. No matter how many times they lie, they know that. Ain't no damn leader. If there is no group. There is no ideology. F.B.A. is just a lineage. You in? You see? And if they're attacking foundational Black Americans and they're trying to act like they're attacking some fake group, that's a con game. They're attacking 50 million of all of us. All right? That's what that is. And a lot of people are looking at the timing of it. I saw a brother who made a video about Tasha K. He was like theorizing, hey, and she ain't that dumb. Somebody theorized that this is like right before the elections. And some people theorize that them folks might have sent her and others to come out here and try to throw salt on the lineage right before the election to try to delegitimize it. You see? Because we know there's a threat of foundational Black American political independence. So we know that there have been intelligence agencies and others trying to undermine our lineage and undermine our delineation. So they'll deploy some of their compromised proxies. See, institutions, they cannot directly attack the grassroots because it will expose their hand and it will galvanize us even more. So they'll use compromised proxies. So the theory is that a lot of the political operatives, they'll look for online personalities and gossip bloggers and people like that who are heavily leveraged. They need money. They got some type of massive legal or financial judgment. They find somebody who's kind of vulnerable, and that person can be easily bought off, can't they? You see? You give somebody a little something if they got somebody who got a $4 million judgment against them, they're pretty vulnerable. You know, not saying, I'm just theorizing here, not accusing nobody of anything. So these people will say to them, hey man, use your platform to pump out some anti-F.B.A. rhetoric out here. You know, digital COINTELPRO is alive and well. Digital COINTELPRO is very real. And you see, as we all see, people always try to discredit our delineation. You see, the problem is it's failing. And these people are shocked because of the backlash, because they're underestimating the reach of this grassroots. You understand? Foundational Black Americans, they developed a very highly advanced digital immune system. You can smell a political operative or paid disruptor from a mile away. You can tell now. The minute somebody come around on some paid disruptor shit, you already know. You can feel their vibe. You get them up out of there. You see, when somebody suddenly pivots their content to launch some unprovoked attack right before the election on our lineage, there's something is funny style going on. Something funny style is going on. And people, there's some folks out here who are underestimating the reach of this delineation. See, the tethers get online and talk about, the F.B.A. is just some shit online, nigga. It is just something on TikTok. It is a small internet group. Yeah, you let these uncharismatic tethers psych you out. No, you don't. Yeah, you miscalculate the magnitude of the F.B.A. grassroots. You buy into some fake illusion that you're going to try to frame 50 million people into some small internet group. That ain't it. People always miscalculate that. You shocked as hell. You try to throw something out there and then there's a wave that hits you back. This F.B.A. delineation movement right now, this is the most powerful cultural and political force in the country right now. This is why all eyes are on foundational Black Americans. This delineation is very powerful. Yeah, the Democrats learned that last election. They underestimated the F.B.A. grassroots, cost them the election. Yeah, because there's nobody to attack. You can't attack some center group. That don't exist. We're talking about 50 million people who are all on code. So you don't know who's going to clock your bullshit. You see? People learn the hard way. This is not a joke. That's why Vlad, not too long ago, Vlad, and me and Vlad are cool, but Vlad had said something kind of slick about foundational Black Americans. I don't know. He was having a conversation with somebody, and he said something kind of slick about foundational Black Americans, and the backlash hit him heavy. It hit him very heavy. He said something very slick, and then that's why he wanted me to come on, and he had to apologize. He's like, I just wanted to apologize. I wanted to have you here while I'm apologizing to everybody. He had to apologize. He had to apologize for that because he saw where that shit was going. Yeah, he saw where it was going. It's not a game out here. This ain't some bullshit on no internet, man. Ain't no leader. That's the thing. Y'all whining about a non-existent group. Y'all sitting up here playing with yourself. Listen, there's 50 million foundational Black Americans out here. That's the reality of it. People, it's kind of scary to deal with that massive movement. You understand? People getting on code. When we talk about foundational Black Americans, we're only talking about one thing, the 50 million people whose ancestry traces back to the beginning of this country. So finding one or two people to whine about, that's not going to do anything. You just throwing furniture. You understand? And there's economic consequences for disrespect now. People are seeing, hey, you say something crazy and immediately you lose 30,000 subscribers in 24 hours. Yeah, that's not small potatoes. That shows that, delineation is not just a hashtag. That can become an economic force. Yeah. And we see that strategic reframing to try to hide your anti-F.B.A. sentiment. A lot of these people with these immigrant backgrounds, they harbor this crazy anti-F.B.A. sentiment. And they'll stubbornly refer to our lineage as an organization, all that. So they try to, that's to give themselves plausible deniability. Because if they admit that what we really are, a multi-generational ethnic group that traces to the beginning of this country, your attacks on us look just like what it is, hateful xenophobia. But if you say, well, it's just a group, you can attack our heritage under the guise of critiquing some organization. That's a deliberate manipulation tactic where you can denigrate our history while trying to keep your hands looking clean. Flacco does that, and Flacco knows better. Flacco, the Liberian, he knows better. He tries that, and me and Flacco have sat down many, many times. This is why I know he's full of shit, and he acts like an op when he does that. And I know you're listening, Flacco. Flacco, you have sat your rhino hunting hips down in front of me several times for hours. You know exactly what foundational Black American is. You know it's a lineage, and you know it ain't no damn group. You know that. You go out here doing that op tether shit, and you get called out as you should for that. You get called out as you should. Let's be very clear. These people with these tethered backgrounds who try to undermine us in their blogs all the time, all they do is gossip about the hood and all that stuff. It's the same thing. They curate the headlines and all this stuff to really mock our culture, ladies and gentlemen. And that's a cash cow for engagement for these people. And it's always been a one-way street of disrespect. We, foundational Black Americans, for years, we've been the ones uplifting Africa, uplifting the image of the Caribbean. We've done that. But what do? They come over here and start talking about hood fights, crime in Chicago. They come and capitalize off the underbelly of the society. They do that all the time. They don't do that to their culture. The minute you talk about their culture, oh, y'all like, oh shit, y'all worked in the KKK. Fuck out of here. The hell out of here. They're the main ones talking about we're divisive, and they spent decades denigrating us like damn parasites. You know? And just like Tasha K, she has built a platform being disrespectful by lying on people, gossiping about people, talking about foundational Black American entertainers' children, all just denigrating everybody. False information about people. And then when somebody throws an insult at her African husband, all of a sudden, oh God, y'all is working the KKK. We got black. I'm all about black solidarity. Black solidarity? Really? Your blog ain't about no damn black solidarity? You run a business model on undermining foundational Black Americans and then want to hide behind the shield of Pan-African solidarity when everybody starts clapping back. You see? But yeah, there's an awakening, man. And the foundational Black Americans have disrupted that whole business model. And people are terrified because of that awakening. You see? We allow these people to sit in our house, eat our food, disrespect us to the world, and they haven't faced any real consequences. Now that we have delineated, we're more economically astute, economically aware, culturally aware, we are defending our lineage. So that old business model is bleeding. You see? And they're upset because they will not be able to just sit here and denigrate us for free continuously. And just, we're calling out that whole straw man con game when they try to shrink our lineage into some four-wall organization. You see? They're trying to, I call that backdoor denigrating. That's not a misunderstanding at all. They know exactly what they're doing, and they underestimate our intelligence to see past that because people ain't buying it. When people sit up here and then I ain't talking about all Black people. I'm just talking about this group called F.B.A. That's what I'm talking about. Everybody's like, no, nigga, you talking about all of us and we see you because ain't no damn group. There is no group. You can't make up a group and attack some group that don't exist. You're talking about all of us and we see it for what it is. And they're getting called out for that. Because foundational Black Americans are collectively too smart and too politically astute to fall for that proxy con game. You see, we know how to read the room. We know how to read between the lines. We see what it is. We see the sleight of hand, and they're mad that we're calling it out. You see? And that whole Tariq, well, F.B.A., this is just the people who follow Tariq. That con game is falling too. That's a failed con game because that's not what F.B.A. is. Foundational Black American does not mean who follows me. You're either born into it or you're not. You cannot follow your own ancestry. You understand? These people are terrified of our delineation because they cannot siphon off of us like they used to, and they can't hide behind us and hide their failures behind us and then delineate when they get a win. You see? They don't want to admit that this is a nationwide grassroots awakening of an entire ethnic group. That's massive. And they don't need us to be on that vibe. They need us to be thinking that we are generic Africans so they can benefit from everything that we do while then turning around telling us we ain't got no culture because everything we do culturally, we have to chop it up to them. Family, you know what it's like the Olympics. It's like the Olympics. You know, they want us to be on the Olympic team with them. It's like the Olympic basketball team. With the Olympic team, they want us to play for the whole country, basically. We're playing for the whole country. We're playing the Olympic team for the whole country. And usually it's just one group of people doing all the heavy lifting. But all of these other people who are kind of, who's slower, with lack of skill, they're not as thorough, but just because they're on the team, whenever the team wins, they win. You know what I'm saying? Just like when they had the Olympic team, remember they had, what year was that? They had Jordan, Magic, Rodman. It was like a super damn team. They were just whooping everybody. So some of the other it was some other players on there, but you don't remember who they were. So they like the Olympic team when there's one group doing the heavy lifting on the team. There's always that one player who's kind of doing, the dream team. Yeah, they want an Olympic team so they can benefit off the wins that one of the main players is doing. There's one main person or a couple of main people carrying the whole team. They like that. Now, when the Olympics is over and the team disaggregates, now it's an individual team. Everybody goes back to their respective teams. Now we see who's really thorough and who's not. Now we see who's thorough. So now the star player on the Olympic team, he's playing on his own team and he's winning. We're showing that he has a lot of numbers on the board, and all these other people who was on the Olympic team, they ain't getting no numbers individually. That's what we're seeing with delineation, ladies and gentlemen. We, as Foundational Black American, we've been the star player under this generic African shit. We were the star players, ladies and gentlemen, winning for everybody, and these bench warmers were benefiting, basking in the glory, and then turning around telling us we didn't have a culture because every win was going to the whole team, and they were acting like the damn team captains because they were directly from Africa. We were like, we're generic Africans, but we're the real Africans, nigga, so we're the team captains. So everything we do comes from Africa. Every win is a win for Africa. Okay. So when we delineate, now all the winning players are over here on team F.B.A. All right? And now you got a bunch of bench warmers on the other side who ain't putting nothing on the board. We're the captains now. Like, oh shit. Well, we must get together. We must be a team. We cannot delineation is wrong, nigga. Oh, no. So yeah, we're seeing that these other folks can't put nothing on the board. That's where all of this whining and stuff is coming from. You see? Yeah, we didn't cut the umbilical cord. So yeah, they need us on the team because they don't have no wins. Nowhere. Yeah? Very interesting. So yeah, this whole thing of, oh, it's Tariq. Tariq is doing this shit. Ain't nobody falling for that. Nobody's falling for that. That con game is done. You're trying to remix our lineage, trying to blame it on one guy's followers. No, that don't work. And ain't nobody buying that. And people see the con game for what it is. You see? Let me get some of the family on here because we got a lot of folks on here. Shout out to the family. Let's get the family in here. Where you at, fam? Raise your hands. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we're emancipated. Now, everybody wants to be F.B.A. Now, yeah, everybody's half F.B.A. and all that. And then they want to play dumb about the name. Well, in 200 years ago, wasn't nobody saying F.B.A. Wasn't nobody saying F.B.A. in the 1800s. You didn't need to say it in the 1800s. You didn't need to say it because we were the only damn black people. You understand that? There's a lot of shit that wasn't said in the 1800s. Yeah, it was just really us over here, us and the Europeans. And the natives, that was some of us too. That was some of us too. You understand that? And truth be told, a lot of folks don't know this. Between 1790 and 1860, did y'all know they didn't even have a category on the census for Indians? They didn't have a category for Indians. That's why I say it was only us. It was only us and the Europeans on the census. Did y'all know that? Oh, can I break some shit down real quick? Y'all didn't know that? Between 1790, y'all look up what I'm saying and I'll talk slow. Between 1790 and 1860, there was no category for Indian on the U.S. Census. All right. Because certain tribes made treaties, so they were like the Cherokee and some of the Creeks and all that. So they were separate. They weren't put on the U.S. Census. They were separate with their treaties. It was something separate. But most natives who didn't have treaties, it was like they called them Indians, not taxed or whatever, but they didn't put them on the census. Or what they would do, though, when they would live in certain areas, you know what they would do? The Indians had to go for either three categories. The census taker would put them in one of three categories. They would you would have to be designated as white, which was rare. You would have to be designated as black or mulatto. That's it. There was no Indian category. The Indian category came in 1860. That's why, family, when you look on your lineage records, you'll see that M, you'll see that's for mulatto. Most likely that was an Indian. If you look at your family's records and you see an M for mulatto, most likely that person was an Indian. All right? Most of us have mulattoes. One of my grandmothers, I think my third or fourth great grandmother, born in late 1700s, North Carolina. I see over the years her racial category change. 1700, she's listed as a mulatto. Early 1800s, colored. After 1860, black. You understand? Oh, it's heavy. Oh, it would change. Yeah, it would change. Oh, it would change. But yeah, if you got a few mulattoes, I can damn near almost guarantee those were just Indians. Those were just Indians because they didn't have an Indian category. This is what I'm saying. That's why the damn population of black people blew up after the 1800s, right when they banned the importation of African slaves, the damn population shoots up. Why? The population of black people, the black population just shoots up out of nowhere. Yeah, that's because of the reclassification. They were just reclassifying Indians. Y'all look that up, man. That's some heavy stuff. Some of the mulatto, see, people assume when you talk about a mulatto, you're talking about a black and a white person. But let's be very clear. On the plantations, they were just Negro. They didn't give a damn how light you were. They just put you down as a Negro. But mulatto was generally a Native American. All right? Mulatto was generally a Native American that they said, oh, he's an Indian, not taxed. Okay, well, he's Native. Because they couldn't. There was no Indian category.
Wells investigation, a mystery altercation emerges, and not with the guys that took him to the island on the boat. Does this change things? We cannot ignore it. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
If people are sending in videos, they should be using those videos to conduct further investigation.
There is a group of people fighting at 5 p.m. Who are they? Where was he? He wasn't floating in the water. He wasn't on the shore. Tonight, evidence of a so-called mystery altercation is emerging. Straight out to Crime Stories investigative reporter Dave Mack. Dave, what can you tell me first about this so-called mystery altercation? And this is not with the men that went to Horn Island on the boat. You know what? Let me just be clear. Crime Stories is not a symposium, a gathering place for a witch hunt. We want the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells. We are here to convict no one yet. And if evidence of a mystery altercation with other young men arises, we are pursuing it. Dave Mack, what do we know about some mystery altercation? We think after the Triton left Horn Island.
Nancy, this is a mystery altercation that is being described through social media as something that took place around 5 p.m. that day. This is 30 minutes after the Triton already left. And in this particular account, a Bertram boat was seen leaving shortly afterward at a high rate of speed. Now, this social media conversation claims that a person, one of the passengers, pretty certain Nolan Wells, was part of a group that was, quote, almost fighting around 5 p.m.
Bip, 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 bip. Whoa, wait. Hold on, Nellie. Did you say 5 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. The reason I jumped in, Dave Mack, is because 5 p.m., if Nolan was seen in an altercation at 5 p.m. on Horn Island, that's after the Triton, had already left. Let's see the boat, control room. We're talking about the boat leaving Horn Island. That boat. Had that boat already left when this altercation occurred? Dave Mack, that's a yes, no.
Yes.
Listen.
But the person said in the DM to another kid that is associated, not any of the kids that I interviewed to talk to, but that could be associated to some degree, that knew Nolan, that this person wrote a message saying, me and my husband saw you arguing with Nolan, and to the effect of, you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Nolan and another person that he may have been in an argument with, to me, are people that need to be investigated.
Guys, let me first introduce Cheryl McCollum, Colgate's Investigative Research Institute founder. Let that sink in at coldcasecrimes.org. She's a star of a hit podcast that I have listened to on loop, by the way, Cheryl McCollum. And I don't like much of what you're saying yet. I keep listening. Zone 7, she's author of a brand new book, Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer, solving the cold case of the Flint River killer's daughter, and more. But for my purposes tonight, she's a forensics expert. Greg Morse, before I even get to the merits of this, where I meant to go with this is everyone has been focusing on the young men that were on the boat that took him to Horn Island. Then we get this audio that we're trying to corroborate, where seemingly in the background, you hear them talking about trying to revive Nolan Wells on the boat. Is that even real? We don't know yet. Or has it been doctored? Trying to find out. I've got experts telling me, renowned experts, by the way, it's real, and renowned experts saying it's not real. It's just like a trial, right? Where it's expert v. expert. Who's telling the truth?
Sure.
I wanted to talk about this mystery altercation. If it happened at 5 p.m., that boat was already gone. Now,
Well,
as
you're
much
right.
as some people want to hang the young guys on the boat, I want to make sure we hang the right person. If there is a mystery altercation after that boat lift, we need to be investigating that altercation.
Well, you're 100% right, because the three young men that are, at least the people are saying are involved in this that went there with Nolan Wells. There's a specific timeline
Put
from what
him
I
up.
read.
Put him
They
up.
needed assistance on their boat. They left at 4:30.
You
They had
just
called
gave me a
CTO.
chill
So
down my spine.
if
You can't
there
introduce
is,
something because people say, I don't care what people say on either side.
No,
they mean nothing to me. What?
Nancy, that's the problem when we have things like podcasts today and people who are not qualified to talk about serious things like this. They're not experts. They want to get likes. Law enforcement is going to keep information
He
close to the
said
best.
he saw the DMs. I don't have
Okay,
a
so what does that
reason
mean?
to think
that's
he
not
didn't
legitimate.
see the DMs. Now, many people are arguing that he has taken a side. We have not taken a side. I'm on the side of finding out why everybody got back to the mainland except Nolan Wells.
Well,
and
listen,
nobody
these
saw
are
anything.
teenagers.
Nobody knows anything. It's just like Tupac Shakur got shot on the strip
Nancy,
at Vegas, and we still don't know what happened. Nobody saw a thing. That's BS.
These are young men hanging out. It's not unusual one may stay behind to hang out with other people. None of that is unusual for teenagers partying and having a good time. So that fact alone doesn't mean anything. What?
Where's your cell phone? Where is your cell phone? And try not to lie. Where's your cell phone?
Okay. Right here.
Oh, really? Because here's mine. So you want to tell me Nolan Wells stayed behind and his cell phone went without him? I understand. Don't everybody start screaming that he didn't want to get it wet. Of course he didn't want to get it wet. But there's ways around that. You can go put it on shore in your shoe like everybody else does to hide it from people and then retrieve it when you go. But no, he let the boat leave with his phone. I agree with his mother on that. That is not Nolan Wells. He was never away from his phone.
So that doesn't mean anything in of itself with what's coming out about this. You know, you're talking about him staying behind. You're talking about there's evidence that he was there after 4:30 p.m. If he's there after 4:30 p.m., Nolan Wells on that island hanging out with other people, that's it. The fact that a cell phone is on a boat and he's not as a teenager doesn't really mean anything at all.
Okay, you know what? I asked you about a mystery altercation, and should we be looking in that direction right now? And you're like going on and on about the cell phone.
No, but
everybody
that's my point.
Cell phone, which is everyone knows. You never
Nancy,
leave
that's
without
my
your cell
point.
phone.
You have to look at what really happened. If there was this mystery altercation, then yes, the police need to be investigating that. They need to be looking into that.
Hi, guys. Nancy Grace here. If you are a homeowner, you've probably thought, should I call American Financing to refinance and pay off this debt? It's worth. Try to get the truth out of what we're hearing. Okay? Listen.
Nolan and another person that he may have been in an argument with, to me, are people that need to be investigated.
With that, I agree with Tatum. As much as we disagree on practically everything else, if this happened, and forget about the girl, I'm talking about the altercation. Cheryl McCollum, come on. He dies. Nobody sees him. The others get back safely. Now we're hearing about an altercation afterwards. And I'm not ruling out that he was on that boat when they left. But now I'm hearing about an altercation. When you can't tell the truth of what's happening, look at who was angry. Look if there was an altercation. I don't know what happened, but when I hear altercation after the Triton left, I've got to go there.
You got to look at it. You absolutely cannot ignore it. But one thing we already know from the second autopsy, they would have mentioned if he had any type of injury to his knuckles, if he had been in a fight. We didn't hear anything about abrasions or bruising or any type of injury that would be indicative of somebody that is a college football player.
Whoa. Okay, now I have just told everybody that you're a forensic expert. It's starting to taste like a dirt sandwich because Okay, I'm going to let you sit in the corner and think about what you just said. Joe Scott Morgan is joining me, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, star of a hit series, Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. He is a death investigator with over 10,000 death scenes under his belt, deaths of all genre. Joe Scott Morgan, let's refresh Cheryl McCollum's recollection. That's what you say in court when obviously the witness is gone off the rails. Your Honor, pause, Your Honor, objection. May I refresh the witness's recollection? In other words, get it together. Don't you remember what we just talked about before you got on the stand, and you give them a piece of paper and go, can we see that the drawings on the autopsy control room? Joe Scott, there's a big, thank you. There's a big honking mark, subcutaneous, deep reddening tissue on his occipital. If I hit somebody in the back of the head, it'd be right there. We don't know what that is.
No, we don't. But to Cheryl's point, she's accurate. And here's why. Because in forensics, it's not just about positive findings. It's also about negative findings, those things that we are absent. So in that report, as she had mentioned, there was no indication that there was any kind of contusions on the hand, the arm, no kind of defensive event like a parry with a forearm, scuffing of the knuckles, that sort of thing. This forensic pathologist that did the second assessment didn't see any evidence of that. And so that's the first place I'm going to go to, aside from not having the actual primary autopsy report that has not been released yet. But you've got an individual that has, in fact, been retained by the family that's making this assessment. And it's a pretty damn thorough assessment, as a matter of fact, based upon many of them that I've read over the years. You don't see any kind of insults to the arms, the hands, anything like this. The one thing about that thing in the back, this focal area that they're talking about is, and I come back to this all the time, Nancy, is that his body, Nolan's body, is in such a state of decomposition to this point that he cannot make a definitive assessment on that area. And he did a multi-layered dissection, which, by the way, according to him, had not been done by the state medical examiner's office in Mississippi. He just went about it a different way. And as a matter of fact, if you like that one, I got another one. The examination that this physician in DC did on Nolan's remains ranks right up there with the most thorough, hear me talking, the most thorough dissection that you can possibly do on human remains. It's the same one that we do on bodies that have died, individuals that have died that have been incarcerated, in custody deaths. You know what all that means: in the back of a cruiser, in a holding cell, in a prison. Those autopsies rank right up there with the most thorough that we can go. It's a very deep dive that they did on his body.
Joe Scott, you are stating that due to the level of decomposition in Nolan Wells's body, that you can't really figure out why his occipital bone area had deep reddening, and that was seen nowhere else in the body. That's because of decomposition. Isn't that true?
Well, it's true in the sense that that's what
Didn't you just say that?
I'm repeating what the physician said in his autopsy report. I didn't do the examination.
So then that would be a yes. So at that level of decomp, that you're claiming could obscure the nature of the deep reddening on his occipital area, but yet on the other side of your mouth, you are claiming that even with this intense decomposition, you didn't see evidence of any reddening on his knuckles or any indication of a fight. So you want it two ways. You want to say, decomp, can't tell what that was on the back of his head, but even though he's highly decomposed, I can tell you, he didn't have any reddening on his knuckles. Really?
No.
Because I see a problem with that.
Okay, you've skinned your knee before, right? Okay. if you have an abrasion, that's completely different than a contusion. That means you have scraping and the tearing away of the skin. That's something that's very obvious. And guess what? I've been in enough fist fights in my life that I know what scraping. Right, I know, and you're misstating that because it's not a matter of reddening. When we look at hands, we also look at contact points where people are being abraded as a result of scuffing their hands. That's different than a color discoloration. We're talking about the top layer, the epidermis down to the dermis is being scraped away. He doesn't see any evidence of that in his
I'm not
autopsy
talking
report.
about a scrape. I'm talking about if he had, for instance, reddening from a welt, the beginnings of a bruise, with that level of decomp, you're telling me you could still make that out?
No, those two things cannot exist in the same universe. You have to have an abraded area, and there would be multiple of them on his hands if he is punching or trying to defend himself. And yes, we can make out bruises. Yeah, we can make out bruises.
You
and
don't always have to have
decomposing
scrapes on
bodies.
your hand when you throw a punch. You don't always have to have cuts on your hand when you throw a punch. That's not true.
Well, that sounds mighty convenient if that's the road you want to go down, because I've seen them many times.
That's what I'm telling you. What you're saying is mighty darn convenient. That the reddening on the back of his head, can't really tell anything because he's so decomposed, but you can see his hands well enough to know he was not in a fist fight. Yeah,
Right.
that's convenient, Joe Scott.
He
Look,
was not in
I'm
a
not
fist
trying
fight.
to convict anybody. I'm trying to find the truth. I'm trying to find out if this evidence of an altercation really happened. And to further muddy the waters, now we have more witnesses stating what they saw.
Another report came to me of someone saying that they saw Nolan with a girl, and they believed that they saw Nolan and this girl struggling in the water, not necessarily drowning, but struggling. Like it was obvious enough that the person was concerned when they saw Nolan in the water, and he was with this girl.
You know, that's from Officer Tatum's show. Cheryl McCollum, it seems to me that that's not true. Because don't you think if a witness saw one or two people, quote, struggling in the water, I mean, I would try to help them.
It makes no sense.
And they did nothing?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. That wouldn't be their focal, that they would pay attention to those two people that are struggling to see, is one going under and not resurfacing? What can we do to help? The idea that they would watch that, see a struggle, and then what? Turn back and finish barbecuing? That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Not at all. So this is a problem, Greg Morse. You're a veteran trial lawyer. We're getting so much information, and a lot of it is inconsistent. And that is why you have cross-examination. So you can test the evidence, test whether it's true under the fire of cross-exam. When you have conflicting stories like this, my instinct is to go with the one that makes the most sense. What do you make of these claims that Nolan was struggling in the water? I really believe if he had been, quote, struggling in the water, that either she or her friends would have come forward by now. I mean, what about these guys on the boat that had already left? Don't they want to save them? I mean,
well,
I'm just trying to find out what happened to Nolan. And if this is true, it may place him on the island after they left.
Well, that's it. And that's what the police are doing, is they're going to run these leads down, and they're going to try to verify what's credible and what's not before they go to a grand jury. They're going to exclude information that they think is completely uncredible. However, all of this information, if people are arrested at some point in the future and charged with a crime for Nolan Wells' death, then all of these conflicting stories, all of these different timelines, they become a conflict in the evidence. And as you know, Nancy, there's three ways a jury can find reasonable doubt if this ever gets there. And one of those ways is in a conflict in the evidence. So these are all favorable things that would benefit a defendant or defendants down the road. However, there's a reason why law enforcement does investigations. Professionals do it, not podcasters talking about it, verified sources, all of that is nonsense. The police are going to keep information to themselves. They're going to also keep information private so they can test statements that come from people and verify what they're saying based on factors that don't get released in the media. So clearly something happened after 4:30 when the Triton boat apparently left. And all of these things the police will find, they will discover. The police can discover whose phones were active at the time in that whole area if they choose. May not be able to use it in court anymore after the recent Supreme Court decision a few weeks ago on cell site location information. However, it's an investigative tool that they can line up who's there. They can also line these things up by the boats. Right. And they're calling CETO and things like that. So these are all things the police are going to verify and shake out what they believe led to this young man's death.
I can get the GPS, Morse. I can get the GPS. Yep. I can get the cell phone data. I can get the tracking data. I can tell exactly what time the boat left. But I can tell the truth of that. But I can't tell the truth right now about these conflicting reports. Was he on the boat? His phone was on the boat. That's the whole point. He's traveling with his phone, then he's on the boat. They're saying, no, he wasn't on the boat. Now this altercation has arisen, evidence of that emerging after the boat left. Who's telling the truth? His mom says, no way would he have let the boat leave without his phone. Okay, that said, the mom is getting death threats. Nolan Wells' mother dealing with not only her son is gone, he's dead. The investigation going on. Now she's getting threats. Isn't it true, Susan Hendricks joining us, investigative journalist, author of Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murder in Delphi, that someone actually called for an investigation into Nolan Wells' mother? Isn't she a home health care nurse?
She is, and it was an anonymous call saying that she needed to be investigated. To me, it was outright backlash connected to what happened to her son. It's despicable considering everything she's already going through. Anonymous calls to say that she's not up to par and needs to be investigated. It's sickening.
Attention homeowners, Nancy Grace here. Scammers are using AI to steal from you. How would you go about investigating this altercation, this alleged altercation that took place after the Triton left? Placing Nolan still at Horn Island.
Sure. I need their photo evidence if they have it. I need the eyewitnesses, the ear witnesses, who saw what, when did they see it, how can they prove it? So if they can tell me who was in the altercation with him, then we're going to bring them in if they haven't been brought in. If there's some type of something they've captured on video or a photograph, that would be great. If it's associated with a boat, does that boat have GPS? When did that boat leave? Where did they go? I want all of that. So, you take the totality. You don't just take one thing, but, you're not going to take somebody's word that just put something on the internet. Have they gone down and talked to law enforcement? Will they come down and swear to what they are saying? That's where you're going to start.
The investigation into the death of Nolan Wells is ongoing. If you know or think you know anything, don't hide under your bed. Dial 228-769-3063. Repeat, 228-769-3063. There is a $125,000 reward for information leading to the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells. We remember an American hero, Corrections Officer Anthony Brown, Nassau County Sheriff's, just 30, shot breaking up a fight, leaving behind his wife and 4 children without a dad. American hero, Officer Anthony Brown. Thank you to our guests, but especially to you for being with us tonight as we search for the truth and the death
I mean, he's on the phone. Wouldn't you think that you would have seen Nolan on the bottom of on the floor or something, or scrambling around, or everybody in a small space on the boat looking at him or something? I mean, that you.
Freaking credible. I find it funny that he's saying that people will be looking down. There's actually people looking down in this video. Notice the girl in the backwards white hat bending down, looking down, and you clearly see the guys looking down, and the girl in the red and white, she's looking down, in my opinion. And then we have the guy in the red shorts that's looking down. But what is this that we see? Me and BFF literally had a conversation about this last night, and then we get these interviews. So apparently it's been a lot of talk, and people believe that this is either a hand or a foot. I can't tell you what it is, but it's definitely some type of movement. Originally, I thought, could it be some type of lever? What could it be? For the people that may know, let me know in the comments. And it also appears to be orange to me, but it also seems to be reaching. It's more than just going up and down. I kind of notice a reach around, and it's also not there the whole time. Let's continue.
What an absolute wild thing to say when so many people have seen this video and slowed it down and noticed that there's either like a hand or a foot or something that comes flying up when they tug on the toe right there. Like, I can't believe that they said that. Y'all, I swear I see Warren stop breathing when he starts this sentence, and he doesn't move again until he closes it out. Watch. They try to cover it up with an edit.
On the phone. Wouldn't you think that you would have seen Nolan on the bottom of on the floor or something, or scrambling around, or everybody in a small space on the boat looking at him or something?
I guess nobody told him social media put on a full investigation concerning the movement in the bottom of that boat, and was hoping that if they spoke, that they would speak on what people really want to know and not playing the victim. The body language experts are definitely going to have a field day with this one. It was that dreadful head turn for me, and finally, at the end, he was able to let out his breath. Let's talk in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about this whole interview snippet that's been put out. And definitely let me know what you think that is. Be sure to subscribe to MTGV Crime Podcast on YouTube and TikTok.
And shout out to my girl over there at Make This Go Viral Podcast for breaking down that interview. And it's obvious to me that everybody is looking down at something on that boat. And people have slowed down the video and still shot it. And it looks like an arm being reached out in the midst of them looking down. And also, this is supposed to be when the boat is getting towed, which is very important. I'll tell you why in a second. But first, just let's look at the point where he starts talking about them looking down at the boat, and we're going to see Warren's face, which is, in my opinion, once again, an act of total guilt to me. Just look at this again.
Move again until he closes it out. Watch. They try to cover it up with an edit.
On the phone. Wouldn't you think that you would have seen Nolan on the bottom of on the floor or something, or scrambling around, or everybody in a small space on the boat looking at him or something?
I guess nobody told him social media put on a full.
And just like she said in the video, it was that movement for me. Peace and blessings, all praises to the Most High. And as the scripture said, all things hidden will be revealed, and those things done in secret will be exposed on the mountaintop. Now, this is allegedly when the boys are getting the tow, right? And during the tow call, you hear all of the audio, which everybody has reviewed. It sounds like they are in a panic. They are in a state of emergency, trying to figure out what to do. So I would venture to say, and somebody pointed this out to me, if Bart is giving them the tow and Nolan was somehow either incapacitated or, like many people ascertained from that call, on the verge of death, then it is then possibly that Nolan was moved to Bart's boat. Because we don't hear a lot about when Bart Boats left. You know, all the concentration is on Wyatt's boat and all the coordinates and all of those things. So if the call in which, once again, if you remember Warren on the call or Wyatt on the call, well, how many people is it? It's like 7 or it's like 6. It's like this, because they were probably in the midst, in my opinion, of transporting Nolan's body to Bart's boat. Hence the phrase, damn it, Bart. You know, maybe, you know, Bart just threw him over there or whatever the case may be. But a lot of people are pointing to, once again, this video with this particular photo as showing the boys or the suspects or the murderers, as some people feel, looking down at a possible object of attention, which many people feel to be Nolan Wells. Just check out this other breakdown, which expresses the same sentiments.
And this is an interesting photo released by the Cajun Navy. What's going on in that boat right there? The boat that looks like it just has one person on it, but it looks like when you zoom in, that person might be holding another person. Remember, Warren said somebody was getting pulled away from the fight, but he didn't see Nolan, but he didn't know who got pulled away. Could it have been that Nolan was getting pulled away? Very, very interesting photo here.
So that is another angle of another series of boats, and a lot of people, once again, looking with great intention or great attention to what is going on. So could that be, you know, the time where Nolan was incapacitated on that boat and everybody got on that boat and tried to leave and too many people got on, the boat started, quote unquote, sinking. Then they had to call Bart. Bart transferred. At this point, once again, it's all speculation. But what we do know is that there's no way that Nolan could drown in a island or on an island in the vicinity or proximity to hundreds, if not thousands of people, and nobody saw a thing. That is why this story is getting so much scrutiny. Those boys are getting so much scrutiny and speculation to their stories not making sense. And, you know, that body language, once again, tells it all, but you can clearly see on that picture there is looking like a limb reaching up, possibly in desperation and possibly in a quest for help and possibly in a, you know, in an attempt to say, hey, somebody look, somebody come help me. We don't know, but what we do know is, once again, it's very suspicious that nobody knows how Nolan drowned, saw him drown, where he was when he drowned, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this video in the comments. Y'all see the number 919-5.
Y'all want to see who that is in that photo right there? Look at who's all in that photo. Anyway, that was just sent to me by an anonymous source. I just thought I'd share that with the rest of the world. Hashtag justice for Nolan Wells.
And if you take a closer look at that photo, it is alleged to be the governor of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, who has a checkered history as far as racism goes as well. And alleged to be the father of Bart Edmiston, right there to his left or our right if you're looking at the picture. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings, all praises to the Most High. And this is further evidence that leads us to believe that if Bart Edmiston was somehow culpable, was somehow responsible, directly or indirectly, for the death and the cover-up of the death of Nolan Wells, then it is obvious why he would be protected. There's a network of rich, powerful people that is in Ocean Springs that will protect their own, as we have seen. And here's what Secret Service Sam had to say about this alleged photo, which shows, once again, a powerful connection in the Ocean Springs dynamic.
Sam here with a Nolan Xavier Wells update. And this is just a little post, things that make you go, all right. Now, here's a picture that somebody has brought to my attention of Bart Edmiston Sr. with the governor of Mississippi, Tate Reeves. Doesn't mean anything. Lots of people have picture with the governor. There's nothing odd about that. He was a football star. He scored a lot of points at Florida. There's nothing odd about it. It just, in terms of the audio, which we've heard, the Cito audio, and he says, damn it, Bart. We're not saying anything, but what it does show is, like in the Carmelo Anthony trial, how connections could potentially help you to not be held as accountable for things when you're connected. When you're not connected, the justice system can throw itself at you and you have no defense at all. But this just points out, let's just say hypothetically, something happened, you got a traffic ticket or you had an issue with the law. Knowing the governor of your state could help you if you ever needed it in any kind of situation. What do you guys think? Secret Service Sam
And
outside.
what he said is ostensibly true. There's a scripture that says, don't show favoritism to the rich or partiality to the poor. And we see a lot of times when you have a connection, when you have a family friend, when you have an uncle who's a judge, who's a senator, you do get preferential treatment. And so with Bart Edmiston Jr. being a high profile college player, a NFL prospect, with his father as well, having, some form of clout, as they would say, or some form of fame in that area, then, you could be protected if you were involved in some nefarious event. And so a lot of people do reference that Cito call when it is clear as day, someone saying, damn it, Bart, and no one can conjure up any explanation for that. At least I have not heard with all of these testimonies. So, a lot of people feel that, it was then that Nolan Wells was, probably put in a precarious position as far as his life and his health go. So we don't know, but I did want to bring that up. There's also pictures circulating of Warren Hudson's mom or the judge, Ashley Coles. I don't know. All white people look alike to me. Well, most of them anyway. But, this lady is hanging out with the mayor of Ocean Springs. So there's another powerful connection right there. This is once you're in, the elite, the Ritzy, the United Dixie White Knights as well, which is a clan, Clavering, as they call it. So we don't know the dynamics of all of these relationships, but we do know that a lot of rich, powerful white people get away with crime every day. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this video in the comments. Y'all see the number 919-587-7782. Thank y'all for liking, watching, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And as always, I pray you have Peace and blessings.
And as the scripture says, all things that are hidden shall be revealed, and those things done in secret shall be exposed on the mountaintop.
Let's go, Rich. Let's go. Be watching Telehouse Publishing, breaking news coverage. Give you the truth before fake news go hudding it. Before the jury decide and the judge discover it. You should tune in to Telehouse Publishing. Telehouse Publishing, breaking news coverage. The propaganda grammar don't believe none of it. Before the jury decide and the judge discover it. You should tune in to Telehouse Publishing. Who keep the people informed? The stories abroad from literary work. Where the narrative's wrong, the research is always on point. The commentary is hard. It's Rich Teller raising the bar. Follow along, shout out to F.B.A. Still FTP, pick up in F.A.C. And all my black families is 3 sides to all.
Willie D Live.
What's up, family? The Nolan Wells case is one of those cases that is going to go down in legal infamy. You know why? Because the state of Mississippi is crawling with uncivilized mutts. That's right, I said it. And you know where they come from? Their mammies and their pappies. That's right, I said it. I said it. Yeah. The state of Mississippi, the officials in particular, they're the reason why Mississippi has such a bad rap. They're in position of authority. They're police officers, but they don't police. They're investigators, but they don't investigate. They're judges, but they don't judge fair and impartially. They're prosecutors, but they don't prosecute fair and impartially. They're medical examiners, but they're incompetent. It don't take a whole lot to become a medical examiner in the state of Mississippi. The bar is so low to the floor, it can't go no more. The reason why I say this, fam, is because Mississippi has a long, sordid history of injustice. And it appears that they're proud of it because they have made no steps in the last 70 years or so to improve. I'm saying 70 because that's where the number started with me. You know, as far as when I started looking at, you know, what they were doing with all the lynchings and stuff. But when you go all the way back, you can date this to the beginning of Mississippi's history. I don't know why it's Mississippi. I don't know why it's like the epicenter of the uncivilized activities and shenanigans, but it is for some reason. And Mississippi holds the crown proudly. They don't try to make any advancements in a civilized behavior. Like in Texas, for example, bunch of uncivilized mutts. But we got a few pockets where you can come to Texas and, you know, people act as civilized as one might act who is living in the United States of America. And look, fam, I get it. You don't like it, leave, right? You're not talking to me. You're talking to yourself because my family, my people built this country, so I ain't going nowhere unless I want to go somewhere. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? This Nolan Wells case, I don't believe is going to be solved. Well, let me back up. It'll be solved. I think it already has been solved. I think they know exactly who killed Nolan Wells. That's right, I said it. I think they know exactly who killed Nolan Wells, but they're not going to tell. You know why? It's too many of them, fam. I think one of the main reasons, even with all of this pressure, even with all of the eyeballs and ears that are on the state of Mississippi, the reason why they will not produce suspects, they will not make arrests, because if they do, you have to go down the rabbit hole. It's so many of them that's interconnected with other crimes. Somebody else might have to take a fall. You know, somebody else might get mad. Somebody might get mad that, you know, you prosecuted them or their loved ones. So now they're going to tell what they know. Now they got to tell that the governor is an official card-carrying member of the KKK. Yeah, I'm not saying he is, but I'm just saying if he was, you know. But he does act like he is. I mean, he did do blackface. Did y'all know that? Yeah. Well, he says he didn't do it, but he was in a fraternity that did blackface. And they also dressed up as the Confederate Army. They got a picture of it. It's online. Yeah, they got pictures online, dressed as Confederates. And you wonder why Confederate flags still hang in many places in Mississippi and in some government offices and buildings. Yeah. These uncivilized mutts are true to nature. They are trying everything they can to not give Nolan Wells' family and the community justice. Well, we're going to have to pick out certain people in the community because the community at large are uncivilized mutts. But there are some people in Mississippi who are decent people who would like to see justice, but man, they got it on lock so much. You know, people are afraid to come forward. Yeah, they're afraid to come forward. It's like they know what's going on. But it's like, man, y'all, let's leave this alone before we rile them up. You got to stop being afraid to rile up the devil. The devil is going to come get you sooner or later. The bully knows how to do nothing else but bully. The bully has no talents worth mentioning. So that's all they know how to do. So eventually they'll get around to you or your family. The best thing to do is pounce on it. Remember the movie Friday? One of the greatest movies ever made. Ice Cube. Craig Debo. You know what I mean? Remember how Debo was just going around, gave Pooh a black eye, gave DJ Pooh a black eye. I can't remember the character name that DJ Pooh played, but gave Pooh a black eye, man. That was cold-blooded. Everybody was scared. Snatched Chris Tucker chain, had everybody spooked. But once Ice Cube said, that's it, and put hands on that boy, the myth was broken. The myth was destroyed. And everybody realized, oh, he's just a man. He can't fly unless he get in a plane. He can't walk on water. He can't walk through walls. He can't make himself invisible. If his skin is punctured, he's going to bleed. If he gets cold, he's going to need something warm to put on. If he gets hot, he's going to need something cool to put on. Oh, so you mean to tell me he is another human being with an expiration date? He gonna die. See, if he couldn't do none, if he could do all of those other things that I just mentioned, maybe, just maybe, I'd be afraid. But still, because I got one life to live and I cannot live in fear, I would find some type of way to defeat that monster. I'd spend every waking moment trying to figure out how to get him. And I'd go for it. If I got to build something myself to stop him, I got to stop him. So I don't understand how people can live and feel like that. Primarily men, because men are the ones who like to be called the king of the castle, and they're the man of the house, and they want their woman to follow them, right? Why would she follow a coward? Why would your children listen to a coward? It makes no sense, not at all. So that's why even when a man is up against a formidable opponent or somebody he thinks is a formidable opponent, he fights back anyway, because you'd rather fight back than to just get your head beat in and be embarrassed, take the L like that. I mean, that's the worst way to take an L is you don't even try to fight back. You don't even, no. So these people in Mississippi, they have collectively, all of the powers that be, have decided that they're not going to give Nolan Wells justice. I'm telling you, fam. I'm not wishing that. I'm not, and don't tell me nothing about speaking something to existence, because hell, I tried to speak stuff into existence when I was a kid, and it's like I spoke it out of existence. The shortcut is work. So that's what I believe. But this whole idea of thinking that just because it's law enforcement, that we're supposed to just trust it, just because they're law enforcement, we're supposed to trust that process. We're supposed to trust when they have a bad record. They have a horrible record of giving Black people justice already. If they had a good record, a decent record, we'd be like, okay, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But they don't. They don't. They have a horrible record of giving Black people justice. And I'm talking about law enforcement. Let's start right there. And let's start with the detectives, investigators. So they're investigating all this time, and they still haven't produced anything. They still haven't taken the case to a grand jury. I personally believe they got whatever fake information that they're going to hold on to, whatever they got doctored up, they're going to present that, and they're going to wait to see if further questions are going to be asked, and people are going to continue to press, and they're just going to leave it up to us to just figure out some kind of way to get justice on our own. I think they're going to figure it out like that. I think that's the move that they're going to make. I do not believe they have any intentions on discovering what happened to Nolan Wells. And it's so deep, it goes all the way to the top of the state and beyond. But the state, businesses, all of the businesses, all of the entities that are tasked with oversight, the checks and balances, that don't even exist in this case. They're all on the same team. And that team is anti-Nolan Wells justice. But what say you, fam? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. No more talk.
game plan be laid out. Hey, you guys, no breaking update in the Nolan Wells case, and it seems like they are letting their game plan be laid out. They are going on a full onslaught, from what I can tell, against Nolan's mom. And as much as these people, and by these people, I mean the attorneys that were representing the boys that were last seen with Nolan, okay? The boys that were last seen with Nolan are going on a full onslaught. As a matter of fact, even though they're talking about suing everybody on the internet for defamation, it seems like they are making claims that many people say are moving toward defamation. Again, how mainstream media is allowing this to happen, I will never know. But you know what? Let's get to the core of this, all right? There was an interview on Dan Abrams. I know a lot of people don't watch Dan Abrams. And listen, the point is, Dan Abrams had an interview with Attorney Cox and also Attorney Pausick. Attorney Pausick was also the same attorney that represented Joe McCain when he took his forever love to Tanzania, Ashley Janae, and he came back with a bunch of reasons why he loved her to death, and she came back in a body bag, okay? That is the same attorney. They have hired that person, and they've hired Cox, I believe Cox, Esquire Cox, the president, all right? They were on the show, and they were on the Dan Abrams show, and they were taking claims from people in the audience, and they have made a claim that seems to have been debunked through the actual attorneys representing Christine Walmsley Wells. It looks like there is a legal battle gearing up, but it also looks like there is a battle to take control of the narrative of the story. And it seems like they're threatening everybody with lawsuits to make everybody quiet down so they can step forward and push a new narrative. Okay, let's get into what the boys formerly known as Nolan's friends, because they don't seem to be acting like friends in his posthumous, what they are known. I even do have to say, I'm actually offended that they are even keep saying, they never name them by name. They always say, oh, friends of Nolan Wells. The power in words, the fact that we're all referring to them as friends. Well, at the end of the day, they were the people, some of the last people to be with Nolan before he disappeared. I'm not calling them friends anymore. I don't think they're acting like friends, and they are literally ascribing that. Nolan is no longer around, so he cannot speak for himself. But listen to what I think is clear definition against Nolan's mama. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm surprised nobody sees this coming. All right, let's get into this. Turn your volume up. Listen to this mess.
What do you got?
Oh, yeah, I have receipts for rebuttal after, but let's go.
Hey, Dan, love the show. Appreciate you gentlemen for coming on as well.
Thank you.
A couple quick things. Was Nolan Wells, were there messages missing out of his phone? And the second thing is,
Absolutely
photos
not.
have come out. Yeah, they're saying that there were messages missing off of his phone. His phone was wiped. And another thing, there's pictures of, like with modern day, with people with cell phones and social media, there's pictures with adults on that boat. There, and one of the adults they're even saying is like an affluent crowd, businessman. They were saying there's just kids, but there are adults there.
Right, but here's the thing.
Pause before we even let these attorneys get to the answer, because the answer is going to shock you. Let me just say this, right? The attorney general, the DA, and everybody else involved said, we can't give any information to Nolan's mama because this is an active criminal investigation. And to give things away on an active criminal investigation, that's illegal. Yes, it is illegal. It is a crime. So answer me this. Since you got your degree and everything, you're so smart, answer me this. How do you know what was on Nolan's phone? Because you're not supposed to have any contact with the police, and you're not supposed to, especially the people that were last seen with them. The police should not be giving out information to people not connected to the case about what was on the deceased person's phone. So first of all, the police actually did tell you this directly. That's illegal. And Nolan's mom, Ben Crump, and everyone else should be made aware. But second of all, let's just say they're telling the truth. And you do actually know that there was absolutely no way. How would you know that? The police didn't tell you that. So how would you know that unless the boys open Nolan's phone. And they know for a fact there's not, because the only way you could have heard it is through the police, and they said they aren't telling anybody anything, or your clients who went into Nolan's phone. There's only two ways you could actually know that for a fact. But let's get into the answer, because do you know they even staked their reputation on something that Nolan Wells' mama has come out and said, oh no, we got your number. I do hope that Nolan Wells' mom, I hope she starts suing them for defamation. I hope she starts going after the lawyers that are trying to run a smear campaign. But listen to their answer.
Sure, there was 2,000 people. They're saying, I don't know.
Where did they get there was 2,000 people on Horn Island on July 4th? Can Horn Island even hold 2,000 people? Do you guys know how many people 2,000 people are? We saw the Officer Tatum interview. Where were 2,000 people on the, what is it, the northwest tip of Horn Island? Where did 2,000 people and the boats they came on all get docked? What are we talking about? We're just letting them say words, and the media is just accepting it. Let's keep going.
Who the they is, but go ahead. Tyler, you want to take this one? Or
yeah,
Ed?
I'd love to.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I saw a headline a few weeks back that said Ben Crump and the family is going to allow the Jackson County Sheriff's Office access to Nolan's phone. You know what I never heard? I never heard him follow through with that. I have reason to believe, and I do believe, that they have not cooperated with law enforcement. I do not think that they have turned in Nolan's phone. And I'm willing to bet my reputation on that. I don't think they've cooperated at all. They do not have Nolan's phone. They haven't had access to Nolan's phone. The Jackson County Sheriff's Department hasn't.
How would you know what the Jackson County Sheriff Department has access to or not? Because if the Jackson County Sheriff's Department is telling you this, and you know this for a fact, and you say you do because you'll stake your reputation on it, then this investigation is compromised. Again, they're telling on themselves, but let's just keep continuing.
So how can you say that there's text messaging or there's photographs missing? Our boys had no reason to do anything with Nolan's phone other than to give it back to Christine and her friends later that night.
Give it back to Christine and them later on the night. So you took a boy's phone that you thought you were missing, didn't tell the mom. The mom had to go send her friends to go run up on your doorstep. And even then, you guys took 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes to actually return it to her. Now y'all trying to act like y'all willingly gave it over. But hold on, it gets deeper. 1 second.
So anything about missing text messages or Snapchats is completely false.
Is it? How would you know that?
I'll just add something. And again, this is why you have to,
Joe McCann's
you have
attorney,
to be on
I
the ground
believe.
there or in the water. When I went to the island, when I was fortunate enough to have that opportunity on Friday, one of the things you notice right away is that there.
What do you got?
I'm sorry. Hold on, let me get it right back. 1 second, y'all. All right,
this is
I
why
started
you
over.
have
We're
to.
good.
You have to be on the ground there or in the water. When I went to the island, when I was fortunate enough to have that opportunity on Friday, one of the things you notice right away is that there's no dock. There's not a boat launch. There's not a dock. When you get to the island, you drop anchor 50, 100 feet offshore, whatever the case may be, and you swim to shore.
You drop anchor 50 to 150 feet away from shore and you swim to shore. Are all these people standing about chest deep in the water? Were they also swimming to shore? I'm very, very confused. Now, Nolan was on a boat, just like Warren was on the boat, and they took times getting on the boat. And just like Warren took a time to take a picture, nobody else did. Where are all the pictures? But like you said, if your clients didn't go into the phone to see what Nolan had, and if the police didn't go tell you what was going on in the investigation, because you know it's secret, then how do you know this for a fact? Somebody can't be telling the truth. But let's keep going. But keep in mind, this water you have to swim to you have to swim 150 feet to get to shore. Hold on.
Right there is one reason why many folks don't bring their phones onto the island.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also another reason.
Oh, here we go. You see the boats? Do you see the boats right there that had to drop anchor? Does that look like 150 feet to shore? Hold on, y'all. Does that look like when you drop anchor, you're about 150 feet away from shore? There are the boats they came on. There's what happened. And look, they're even further out in front of the boats. They're further out in front of the boats, and everybody's still about chest deep in water, the girls and the guys. And that looks like a very sparse island for it to be 2,000 people there. But let's keep going. I apologize. Let's keep going.
Reason why, you may not have as many photos or content as you might expect. And I will also just say another thing. Quite frankly, people go out there to have a good day. They go out there to have a good time, to unplug, to unwind, to get away from the world. They're in the sand. They're in the surf. They're in the water. It's not a cell phone environment.
About the Nolan Wells family.
Okay.
Did you?
So that's what they said, right? And this is Laugh and Grind official. He actually got the screenshot from the Don Lemon show of the immediate rebuttal from Nolan's attorneys. And I wanted to give him credit because, we're all in this investigation game. And if he took the time to actually screenshot, then we will give him the credit instead of going to getting the screenshot ourselves. But keep what this attorney says, not him, but he's going to read the letter from the attorney. And keep that in mind to what these lawyers, again, the fact that they're threatening to sue the whole internet to get everybody to be quiet and stop asking questions. And now they are launching on radios, on TV shows, on whatever, a narrative that cannot be true. There is no way you could know what's on Nolan's phone. Why? Because you got involved in this investigation after the police investigation started. Also, Nolan is the deceased. Why would those boys or their family have any right to know what's on Nolan's phone? Right? Third of all, Nolan's family has a right to know what's on Nolan's phone because that's Nolan's phone, right? They have the phone. It hasn't been unlocked by forensics. Ben Crump actually did a press conference and said, hey, I talked to everybody and we're going to unlock the phone in real time while the detectives, the forensics, and the experts are all there. So nobody can say, oh, you didn't do something right. Nobody can say you're lying. Everybody gets all the information at the same time. He also did a press conference. The sheriff did not agree with him. But getting into this mess that they keep trying to overlook, your client should have no access to that phone. Your client said they didn't look in the phone. The police should give you no access to the investigation or their findings. That's illegal, and it compromises the investigation, right? You have no access to Nolan's family. So how would you know this? And you're staking your reputation on this. He said, I would stake my reputation on the fact. Okay, let me read you what he said. He declared he is willing to bet his reputation. He said, I do not think they turned in Nolan's phone. I'm willing to bet my reputation on that. I don't think they've cooperated at all. The police do not have Nolan's phone. They haven't had access to Nolan's phone. So Jackson County Sheriff's Office hasn't. So how can you say that there's text missing and there's photographs missing? Our boys had no reason to do anything with Nolan's phone other than give it back to Christine and her friends. Okay, now listen to this rebuttal.
Hear the Nolan Wells lie and public rumor and misinformation that the Nolan Wells family are not cooperating with authorities. They refuse to hand over the phone and they refuse to work in tandem with law enforcement. Well, that was a lie, because take a look at the legal document that was just recently sent by District Attorney Mickelrath. Courtesy of Don Lemon, A.R. Smith Law sends a legal document to Miss Mickelrath. I may have said McRadle before. It is what it is. Essentially saying that they will be representing.
If you guys don't know, I believe she is the Attorney General or the District Attorney of Mississippi. Okay, very important to know. I don't know if they have an AG or a DA down there, but yeah, let's go.
Nolan Wells' estate and the family moving forward alongside Ben Crump Law. Here's the important thing. As the legal team has previously stated, including during an in-person meeting with the Wells family and counsel, we have been and remain ready and willing to cooperate in arranging a joint forensic inspection of Nolan Wells' personal cell phone. During the meeting, we specifically discussed having the examination conducted through digital forensics lab at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, as well as the possibility of FBI involvement as well. Our position has not changed. We are prepared to coordinate a mutual agreeable date and procedure for the examination of the phone accordingly, to the extent there has been a suggestion that we have been unwilling or have failed to cooperate with the investigation. And we want to make clear that is not the case, addressing those public rumors. You also previously indicated that Dr. Mitchell would be provided an opportunity to review materials, the necessary materials for him to complete his autopsy review. That was the secondary independent autopsy. We remain prepared to facilitate that process. Please provide us with available dates and times for Dr. Mitchell to review those materials, along with any instructions necessary to arrange his process. We would like to move forward both of these matters forward promptly and remain available to coordinate with your office. Yours truly, I think it's Ahmed R. Smith, A.R. Smith Law. Proof that the Nolan Wells family, they are not avoiding law enforcement. They are not holding that phone hostage. They are still waiting for District Attorney Mickelrath to respond, to coordinate the actual joint investigation for the digital forensics regarding the cell phone. They are not handing over the cell phone until they agree on a date, because they probably just don't trust what's going to happen to that cell phone after it's turned over. And not to mention the autopsy. They're still waiting for the autopsy to get the approval so that Dr. Mitchell can actually complete his second and independent.
Again. It's crazy, the destiny swapping. It's crazy what they're trying to do. And it's crazy they think they're going to get away with it. Let me tell you something. I keep saying I think Christine should say something. But you know what? Looking back, I think they're doing the right thing. I think all these people are trying to poke to make Ben Crump, Nolan's family, the people close to Nolan, lose their cool, lash out, and then get into the mud arguing about things that don't matter. Because at the end of the day, whatever comes out, if there needs to be defamation cases later, there will be defamation. If anything, you just sit back and you just let them talk and you give the evidence. The thing I'm most disappointed in is the way most of mainstream media seems to be falling for this narrative. They are not Nolan's friends. They were people that were last saw with Nolan. Nolan is no longer alive. He cannot tell us whether he still considers them friends or not. But the fact that they're allowed to hide behind that term, friends, so we subconsciously think, well, maybe. The fact that they are out here basically telling us things about the investigation that they should have no way of legally knowing, and because they're attorneys, I'm pretty sure they won't break the law. So that means what? Are you lying or are you repeating lies? And what basis in the truth do you have? You guys, listen. They're playing in Nolan Wells' mom's face. I think they're trying to engage her so that she gets sloppy. But kudos to her for staying focused. And the focus is not whether they're good, upstanding American boys. Not that. The focus is what happened to Nolan. Let's get those answers. And then we can start looking into who's responsible. Anyway, y'all, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Is going wild over this new Brandon Tatum interview. For those that don't know, Brandon Tatum just interviewed Nolan Wells' fake friends, along with that Trump defamation attorney guy that's trying to threaten everybody. But TikTok is going crazy. Y'all not gonna believe what my girl caught. the Trump attorney defamation guy, he sat up there and stole a quote from the movie. I believe it was either Bronx Tales, one of the mob movies or something, but she caught it. This dude is a straight character. But before we get into that, I found this TikTok. I believe his name is Black Light. He took every clip of every lie that his fake friends had said in the interview. He chopped them up and y'all gonna like this one right here. Y'all gonna like this one. Before we get into it, y'all make sure y'all hype this video. Make sure y'all subscribe and make sure y'all put in the comment section justice for Nolan Wells. Let's get into it, y'all.
What do you mean it's a quote from a mob movie?
Because if you don't do that, once you're in court, now you just can't leave. Now you just can't leave.
Maybe if you're trying to convince the general public that these boys are innocent, don't quote a mob movie in which they then beat up a bunch of bikers at a bar. And it seems quite obvious to me that this lawyer, instead of, presenting evidence that would help exonerate them in the public eye, like showing the actual security cam footage of when they came home or the text messages with Katie. No. Instead, we're going to keep it focused on race, which you can see by this clip.
People are pushing the narrative of, oh, this is a race thing. Well, obviously it's not. I mean, this is like a brother to us. I mean, Nolan's no different than anyone else in our group. I also want to say, I think it's so criminal that they took something so anti-racist and flipped it into something super racist. Like they took, this is the definition of anti-racism. I mean, that we did not look at Nolan any different than I looked at him, or even you.
Okay, first off, that even you was wild. It's quite clear from that sentence that Jax has never had an actual conversation about racism in his entire life. I was friends with a black person. That's the most anti-racist anybody's ever been. This situation was the most unracist thing that's ever existed. It's the media. They're the ones making this racist. No, you don't understand what that means. It means your story doesn't hold water, and when people called you out on it and called out the investigation on not even investigating, that is systematic racism. It's very, very clear to me that the lawyer is the one telling them to keep the focus on race. Because you can see the lawyer and the gears in his head turning and nodding and agreeing along with all of the racial stuff. And you can see him kind of being like, yeah, okay, that's what I'm saying, yeah. So it's very clear that that was one of the bullet points that the lawyer told them to hit home over. And another one was the Coast Guard. Why would I call the Coast Guard if I knew he was dead? I called the Coast Guard right away. First off, you didn't. You waited till 11 o'clock. Second, it's not like the Coast Guard searched for him that night. Warren clung to that like it was a safety raft.
I think from the beginning, I'm glad that I called the Coast Guard. It would have been completely different. I'm glad I called the Coast Guard.
It's like, I'm sorry, Warren, but it's actually way more suspicious that you called the Coast Guard, because first, you didn't want to call the Coast Guard when you guys were sinking. And then for some reason, you assumed that Nolan was still out on the island at 11 o'clock at night. Why wouldn't you assume that he came back with the person he was supposed to come back with and something happened to him in transit? Because no reasonable person would think that he was still out on the island, in my opinion.
So in Tatum's interview with Trayston said Wyatt's name, then he apologized like he wasn't supposed to say.
And so I told Wyatt that, and oops, my bad. But I told him it's good. I told him that.
Now, mind you, in Warren's interview with Tatum, he said Wyatt's name 20 times. I counted. He didn't say anybody else's name more than 10. Now, why was he so comfortable saying Wyatt's name that much? And then why would Trayston feel the need to apologize after saying it in his interview? And with all of the editing that Tatum did for Warren's interview, why didn't he just do the same with Trayston's? But look, I said I would get to the Cito audio. So one of the things that stood out to me about that is when the dispatcher asked them how many people was on board, I think it took him a while to answer because he was trying to figure out if they should include Nolan or not. Because going back to Warren's interview real quick, he said there was 8 people on the Triton.
And Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. There was like 8 people on the Triton.
But in the Cito call, Wyatt said there was 7 people.
Is there a living person, someone breathing on the boat? Is there anybody on the boat?
Yeah, there's lots of people breathing on the boat.
All right, how many people, sir?
Like 7 people.
Just happened to be one less person. And the coordinates that Wyatt gave Cito puts him just off the coast of the island.
which makes me wonder, if you was that close to the island, why wouldn't you just try going back to where you was so you don't got to travel as far and you could get more help? And I'm also curious exactly what time was the call to Cito made, and why did the full audio from the call take so long to be released? And why was different media outlets putting out different clips of it instead of the full thing?
Officer Race Tatum just did this sequel interview with now 4 boys on it instead. And I don't know if this makes things much better.
Oh, this is a bunch of white guys that killed a black guy.
Nobody said you guys did anything. We're just saying that you lawyered up the day after all of this and you deleted all your social media accounts. That just seems sus.
I think I also want to say, I think it's so criminal that they took something so anti-racist and flipped it into something super racist.
No, we did not flip this into a racist thing. It's the way your entire town has handled this and treated the mother, and the way the system has treated this, which makes it a racist thing.
Why would we call Cito if we have a dead body on the boat? Why would we call the Coast Guard?
Why would you cancel Cito and the Coast Guard is the real question.
That clip of all of us on the boat, you know, as it's rolling, not rolling, but right there sitting in the water. Why it's on the phone with Cito.
We're still waiting on the metadata. Trent out loud asked TMZ. We're trying to confirm Officer Race Tatum. If that is the actual video of you guys getting towed, provide the metadata.
If you just murdered your best friend on an island, the dumbest thing you could do would be to call the Coast Guard.
But you canceled the Coast Guard, right? It's like saying I called 911 to save my friend, but then I canceled 911 to save my friend.
These are all American young men, incredible young men.
Who is the Uncle Rico guy, and what does incredible American young men have to do with anything?
And they did a lot more than just that. I won't go through all of it now, but they did a lot of heroic things after the fact, and they did the best they could.
By heroic things, you mean keeping the cell phone, the keys, and deleting all social media accounts and lawyering up?
And they tried for their dear friend. All of their actions are the actions of innocent men, not guilty men.
And out of all of this, I don't hear any of you saying, I hate how Nolan's mom has been treated. You only talk about how you guys have been treated. Also, look at all their body language. It is so off to me. Do you see how they're all staring at whoever's talking like, don't mess it up, don't mess it up, don't mess it up? None of it is making sense. You guys are just making this seem more sus. If it was accidental, what happened to Nolan?
I honestly believe that this is a money grab for that defamation attorney, because he has a hat that says call Cox. He has this whole bravado about himself, like he's some Italian guy or some Italian mafia guy. And the way he's talking, even when he said, I'm coming after you. I'm coming after all of you.
Because when somebody dies accidentally, there's no reason to cover it up. If Nolan Wells drowns, they would have found water in his lungs, and they did not. If Nolan Wells drowns, there's no reason to delete anything off of the phone. If Nolan Wells drowns, then there's no reason to remove the throat. But if Nolan Wells was, then that would explain some discoloration to the back of the head and the removal of the throat. And now we're trying to turn this into a circus and make it about something bigger by arresting and charging people for making threats, which you cannot make threats, especially to a judge. Like, that's not the smart thing to do.
Right.
But how many death threats has his mother received? And who's been arrested in doing that? How long has this case gone on and still nobody has been charged and arrested? Yet we have several people that are suspected of knowing. We have a young lady, Katie, who is updating moment to moment her day that day via Snapchat to alleviate herself of any wrongdoing. And then we have this new audio where people are saying, is he dead? Can we cover it up? Nolan, get up. We have a young man on the phone saying we're members. Is that a code word? We don't know.
They're members.
They're members. We have a membership. How far is, oh, we're sinking. We're taking water. How far? Oh, I don't know. That's very simple. About ankle deep. About right at my shin.
Right.
Couldn't answer that question. So don't allow these people to sweep this under the rug, because this is what they do.
Right.
Now, I am not in a position. I think Damona had made some very good points, right? She said, you know, as Black people, if we're going to have a revolution, we're going to have to get rid of all the people in the middle.
Another day, another interview with the three boys who were seen in that photo on the boat to Horn Island with Nolan Wells. And not one tear was in the room during the clip that I'm about to show you. Now, you all know that I am a licensed mental health professional. And I don't even think you need those qualifications to know this, but it is absolutely not normal for nobody to show any sign of grief for the loss of someone who they say is like a brother to them. No tears, just excuses and clearing your name.
So what do you guys think about that audio?
Well, I can go ahead and say that as you posted that clip of all of us on the boat, you know, as it's rolling, not rolling, but right there sitting in the water, Wyatt's on the phone with Cito.
And this is the photo of the clip, by the way. The same clip that we still haven't seen any metadata to prove that that phone call was happening at the same time that they were apparently already being towed by Bart. Because according to Bart and his lawyer, he was already towing them. But we hear Bart's name in the phone call. So was he in another boat towing them, or was he on a boat with y'all? And where's the data to show us the timestamps? Because all we see is somebody on the phone, and that's not to mention that all of the trunks in this original picture don't match all the trunks in the clip that was posted.
In that clip, I mean, he's on the phone. Wouldn't you think that you would have seen no one on the bottom of on the floor or something, or scrambling around, or everybody in a pot, like in a small space on the boat looking at him or something? I mean, it's just so crazy to think that. Why would we call Cito if we have a dead body on the boat? I mean, why would we call the Coast Guard? You know, why would we do the things?
Notice that picture with them on the boat. Notice everybody was on the outskirts of the boat.
We did if we know we killed somebody.
I mean, the simple answer to that question is because that's what people do when they're trying to cover something up. I mean, duh. And y'all still haven't answered the question. What do y'all think about the cleaned up audio?
But we fixed the boat and we ran into Fort Bayou, and that's it. The Cito call was completely enhanced, and these people just want to believe what they want to hear.
The Cito call was completely enhanced. Wouldn't that be a good thing? Now, I'm going to assume that that's not what you meant to say, and that's why y'all need to stop doing interviews with Officer BBB and go do interviews with someone like Ben Crump, who's the family's attorney. And we still waiting for answers about why y'all went to Fort Bayou instead of going back to the dock that you needed to go back to go home.
So all this makes me wonder who was driving to Palm Beach and why did they, according to what Warren said, already leave? Y'all went out there together and started having trouble with one of the boats, but not everybody stayed to help. Y'all didn't want all hands on deck. And what boat was Warren really on the whole time? And why was the GPS tracking for only one of the boats released? There's so many more unanswered questions. But another thing I caught earlier in part 3, Warren said Wyatt was the one who called Cito, but then he pivoted real smooth away from what was actually said on the call. He said Wyatt was like before changing the focus to the cell service.
So that's when Wyatt called Cito, and Wyatt was like, you know, calls him because the cell service isn't great at the island, but once you can use your phone, but stuff might not descend, and it's not great.
Which I guess was smart for him to do, given how much chaos was going on at the time, now that we can hear the full audio that's been released, which I'll get to later. But another thing, almost 15 minutes into part 3, as he talking about the moment they started looking for Nolan, at no point do he say anything about Katie or Tristan. Now, he claimed he last saw Nolan with Katie, but he never said anything about reaching out to her to see if Nolan was with her. And that's interesting to me, considering how in Tatum's interview with Tristan, almost 13 minutes in, Tristan said,
Warren gets on the phone and he's just like, hey, man, he was like, hey, have you talked to Nolan? Anything else? I was like, no, I haven't talked to him, man. He was with that girl last time I knew. And he was like, okay. He was like, man, we can't get a hold of him. We don't know where he's at. I was like, man, it's Nolan. He's probably just out somewhere with that girl. Like, get a hold of the girl, you'll probably find Nolan. It's no big deal.
But Warren chose not to do that for some reason. What he did do was ask what Nolan's Snapchat location said, which is also interesting to me, because why would you bother checking his location if you knew his phone was on Wyatt's boat and he didn't come back with y'all?
Before I called Miss Christine, I asked, I was like, oh, well, where's his location at? Because Nolan had his Snapchat location on for me. And he said, you know, it's Wyatt said it's, you know, in my truck. Like, because everybody who left stuff on the boat, it was Wyatt's boat. So Wyatt put it in his truck, you know, like it's normal.
Because Warren made it clear around 4:44 on part 4.
Nolan left the phone on the boat. And when we ran in, Nolan didn't ask for his phone.
Look, if you ain't got tired of listening to the lies, and if you can actually believe it, it's even more. And so in the first part of the interview Tatum did with Warren, there's an edit 4 minutes and 13 seconds in where Warren said Nolan was on the boat with him, but it was edited to sound like he said Nolan was on the boat with him last year. Most of everybody from Ocean Springs and the Gulf Coast go to Horn Island. And, you know, we went last year. Nolan was on the boat with me last year. And he was... Now, I can't say for sure what was cut out, but I definitely caught that and the hard swallow right after. Pause. But then there was another edit 5 minutes and 40 seconds in where Warren says Wyatt's name, and he starts to say another person's name before it's cut out.
My buddy Wyatt and I went, and with my buddy, we went, filled the top of the boat off.
And right after that, he said Wyatt has a smaller boat called the Palm Beach, and that he, Warren, drove the Palm Beach from Fort Bayou to the boat launch.
Then Wyatt went and put his smaller boat in the water, which is the Palm Beach. He's an 18-foot Palm Beach. And I drove the boat from Fort Bayou boat launch to my buddy's grandparents' house. And that's where we all planned to meet up that day.
So he's saying Wyatt had 2 boats out there, and that he drove one of them to the boat launch. But he also said he actually rode to Horn Island on a third boat called the Tide Line, which belonged to his buddy Bart.
I went with my buddy Bart because we had a lot of friends from college coming down. And I called Bart that morning. I was like, hey, man, can you take your boat out? And he was like, yeah, well, my dad decided not to go, and I'll take the boat, and I'll take you and your friends. Of course. I mean, he's a buddy of mine. And so Bart pulled up at the dock, and I mean, I rode out there with Bart.
And that's supposedly the person who told him. But 8 minutes and 20 seconds into part 2, he said, when I left the Palm Beach to get on the boat with Wyatt.
I rode out here on a different boat, like I told you, and I grabbed my phone when I left the Palm Beach to get on the boat with to get on the boat with Wyatt, because we were having, boat issues. And
well, he stumbled through it probably because he was trying to keep up with his lies. And they get worse in parts 3 and 4, because 10 minutes into part 3, when he said his buddy was telling Nolan to get on the boat, he said
because the Palm Beach had already left.
Now you see now.
Damn!
Because no reasonable person would think that he was still out on the island, in my opinion. Because in your own words, Warren, you said you didn't talk to Katie till the next day. And then speaking of the island, the lawyer tries to say that by them going to the island and looking around, that it absolutely exonerates them and that the narrative couldn't be this, and ends it with a wild statement, mind you.
People who have been sucking up way more oxygen than they're entitled to have not been to the island. I'm willing to bet that a lot of the hustlers and profiteers and liars have not been to that island, and you have to go to that island. And being at the island today was revelatory. It was really illuminating. It's a very dynamic marine environment, first of all. But when you go to the island, you see instantly that what some people want to be true, what they wish to be true, they're trying to wish it to be true. They're trying to make it true through their lies. It's actually not possible. It is a very, very long and narrow barrier island. It's basically very low sand dunes. And the particular part of the island that we're dealing with, there are no trees. It's hardly any foliage, hardly any tree cover, hardly any plants, and it's wide open. And on July 4th, there were thousands of people there. There is no possible way that anybody could have committed a murder in broad daylight.
Murder? Who's saying anything about a murder? Most of us are under the assumption that an accident happened and they covered it up. All of this stuff that they keep trying to point to as evidence that they didn't do anything to him are not actually evidence. You know what is evidence? The security cam footage. Explain to us why the grandfather was the one who canceled the sea tow. How about that? And what I see is just a complete lack of responsibility with these boys. Because listen to this phrasing.
I wish we would have never, I think about this every day. I wish we would have never went out on the 4th of July, because I know this wouldn't have happened.
You see, instead of saying, I should have made sure my friend got home safely, they said, I wish we had never gone out. And I have to admit, my little antennas buzzed a little when it sounded like he was going to say, I knew this was going to happen, right? That seems like what he was going to say. It wasn't, maybe we shouldn't have been underage drinking. They literally say, we did everything right.
I mean, there's not much I would change from my point of view and my friend's point of view. I think we did everything right, and I know we did nothing wrong.
Those are not the words of somebody who lost their brother, their best friend a month ago. And I lost one of my closest friends in a non-suspicious way. I blamed myself, even though I hadn't even physically seen her in a couple of years. And for those of you guys saying that Jax is the one that people should press, I fully disagree. He is the one that I think is the scariest out of these interviews. Watch the way he looks at Warren during this moment.
We live in a very tight-knit community, and for people to, push back and say these things when they know what Ocean Springs is like, it's really hard. And I mean, I don't think I've had many personal encounters, but I know being around the
Oh, he felt like he was saying something to Warren. Because let's not forget, it was his grandparents' house that they all got together at. It was his grandparents' house that they went back to and thus should have security cam footage from. And out of all of them, Jax is the one that is holding his body in a different way, who is more controlled, more level-headed. If these kids were truly looking to exonerate themselves, they would actually start addressing some of these questions. Like, who was the fourth boat? Why were all of you huddled up out there together? Who drove the fucking Palm Beach?
But what I want to know is, when did they tell Nolan to get on the boat? Because it seemed to me, from what you said, that this happened around the time that the boat was having trouble. They claim they last saw Nolan alive at 3, and the call that was made about the boat sinking and needing to be towed was at 4. Now, you said they told Nolan to get on the freaking boat. Almost as if it was a rush or an emergency, or Nolan was around at that time. So what time did that conversation happen? And then you said that there was a report of Nolan being seen around 6 or 6:30. Now, where did that come from? Because you're the first person I heard say that. But look, that's just what I want to know, along with whatever text messages you was talking about. I don't even want to get into the edits that was made in the video and what was cut out when Warren was talking. I mean, I want to know.
So Brandon Tatum got in his messages and said that he was wrong. Those are the people that you want to listen to. If Brandon Tatum go to this content creator and be like, no, you wrong. That's who I want to listen to, because when you look at his videos, he don't forget shit. He know exactly what you said, when you said it, and he's breaking it down. His name is Black Light on TikTok.
So 18 minutes and 30 seconds into part 3, Warren said he woke up the morning of the 5th and his dad texted him.
I wake up the next day at about 7:30, and my dad had texted me, because obviously Nolan's photo was all over Facebook.
But 20 seconds later, he said his stepdad walked in the room.
Next day, I woke up and my stepdad walked to my room and he said, hey, like, have they heard anything about Nolan? Like, what's going on?
So how did he really wake up? Because 8 minutes and 20 seconds into part 4, he said he woke up that morning to a text from Nolan's mom.
I woke up to a text the next morning that Miss Christina texted me, and she said, hey, Nolan's dad's there, is there at my buddy's house to pick up the keys.
So he clearly can't keep up with his lies. But then this would really set me off about the interview. It was 6 minutes and 20 seconds into part 4. He basically called Nolan's mom a liar. Nolan's mom said she had to track his phone using Life 360. But Warren said he told her on the phone that they had Nolan's phone.
I mean, I told Miss Christine that we had his phone and he had left it in our possession on the boat.
When did you? Miss Christine is Nolan's mom.
Correct.
When did you talk to her about that?
When I was on. No, I didn't talk to her once. Like, it was like 12:30. I mean, I might have texted her a couple times and talked briefly about a couple things, but I never. I told her on the phone before I called the Coast Guard that we had Nolan's phone.
So now I'm wondering even more why Nolan's mom has never said whose house his phone was actually at. But if y'all remember, Nolan's mom said his phone and his car was at 2 separate locations.
She received the phone from that parent, and then we met up where his car was, which was at a separate location.
Warren made it seem like Nolan's car and phone was at the same house, because he said he was there at his buddy's house where they all stayed the night before when the phone was handed over.
So I went back to my buddy's house that I stayed the night before, where we all met up, and stayed together the night before. Nolan's car was at my buddy's house where we stayed at. So of course he left his keys there. But his phone, he was drinking.
Was there a struggle over it, or did you guys hand it over?
Just handed it over. We didn't think anything of it. Like, she asked for Nolan's phone. We knew they were close friends with, the Wells family, and my buddy went out to his truck and handed the phone over. No complications, no issue, nothing.
He took forever lying about that part of the story, so I had to edit a few clips together. But that brings me to my last point with these interviews.
Damn, boy, man. Shout out to that brother right there, man. Black Light. When I seen that, I said, yo, I gotta react to this and share it with y'all, because I don't think nobody got that technical in matching up the lies. And I don't know why the hell they are letting him do these damn interviews. And he's stuttering and he's all over the place. Y'all remember Nolan Wells' friend, the black one who did the interview with TMZ. Remember, he said that they were on substances. Like, yo, this is what they do. Then I'm looking at certain people's facial features. I'm like, and then you stuttering like, you can't keep up. I'm like, okay, I see who's on the substances, allegedly. But y'all get in the
family. Tyler Cox, the attorney for Warren Hudson, Jax Patalo, and Morgan Seymour, wants you to know that the jig is up. Leave his clients alone. All you content creators, all up in the video. He's telling you, he coming for you. And he's not just coming for you for defamation, but he's coming to get his clients off the hook. Yeah, fam. He's saying that his clients had nothing to do with it, and he got witnesses. Yeah, he said he got 2 new witnesses who are very fine, upstanding members of the Ocean Springs community. Very fine, upstanding members of the Ocean Springs community. Interesting, because I think I've only seen a handful. I'd like to see these 2 he's talking about, because we know that there were multiple witnesses on the day that Nolan Wells came up missing. And we also know that there were multiple witnesses to his murder. That's right, I said it. I ain't scared of you. I said it. My eyes do not deceive me. My ears do not deceive me. I saw what I saw, and I heard what I heard. Y'all can play around all you want with semantics. You can try to play those mind Jedi tricks. You can do all the gaslighting you want. But 1 + 1 = 2 anywhere in the world. If I got a friend who comes up missing and I'm the last one to see him, that's a problem. If I got a friend that I go out on an island with and I come back and he don't, that's a problem. If I got a friend who drowned on July 4th, Independence Day, with hundreds of people everywhere, and nobody saw him drown. Nobody witnessed him fall and go into the water. Nobody witnessed anything. That's a problem. That is a little too convenient. Wouldn't you say? I would say that's a little too convenient. And I would say that an investigation should have been underway immediately. But I'm gonna tell you something, fam. I don't believe these people started an investigation. I think they may have asked a couple questions, but not in the sense of we're gonna get to the bottom of this and we're gonna bring justice to the family. No, 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 no. They're dog whistling, fam. They're dog whistling. This attorney called these dudes, and by the way, they're not boys. They're 18. All of them are 18 years old or older now. They're men. Okay, let's stop calling them boys. They're men. Just like they do our boys. Just like they do our boys, they call them men, right? If they're 18, they say men. If they're 19, they say men. If they're 15, they want to say men, but at the very least, they treat them like they're men. But anyway, fam, moving on. These dudes right here, I don't care what you say, attorney. These guys are not the type of guys I would ever want as friends, because every single action they took was inconsistent with being a friend. There is no way possible I leave my partner on an island alone with a stranger. I don't care who it is, girl or not, whatever. I'm like, yo, nah, man, you coming with us. Hey, no, hell no, you coming with us. We came together, we leaving together. Hey, man, get back with her on shore, buddy, but we're not leaving you out here. That's how that go. Plus, the mother who birthed him, who knows him better than any of these people that call themselves his friend, said that Nolan was told that if you come together, you leave together. So he knows that. He knows the rules. And by the way, he would never do that because that's inconsistent with his character. Now, all of a sudden, a month and some change later, nobody saw anything, but now we got witnesses. Nobody saw anything, but now we got witnesses. We got witnesses. We got witnesses to tell their side of the story. No. There are witnesses. There are witnesses. But there are witnesses to the crime. You dig what I'm saying? They are witnesses to the crime, not no witnesses to the argument. I'm sure that it was a whole lot of people saw an argument. We're talking about murder. Where are you witness to the murder? Yeah, that's what I want. I want the witnesses to the murder to step forward, because we know that was a murder and we know that were witnesses. I want those witnesses to step forward. Where are those witnesses? They're out there. They're out there. And we've laid eyes on them. That's right. I said it. We know. We've laid eyes on them. I don't care how much dancing y'all do, attorney. Y'all can't get around that CETO call. Y'all can't get around that CETO phone call. I don't care how much dancing you do. I don't care how much you try to throw up against the wall. You're not getting past that. This dog whistling of very fine boys. These are very fine boys. What makes them fine? Oh, you're looking at their behind? Because if you're talking about fine as in character, homie don't think so. Homie don't think so. Are you saying they're fine because they come from prestigious families or they're rich? Okay, so I think not only should Nolan Wells' family be offended, but, not only should Black folks be offended, not only should anybody that has some type of integrity be offended, principles be offended. White folks, poor white folks, should really be offended, because they wouldn't have called a poor white person a fine individuals. They wouldn't have called you fine or upstanding if you didn't have money. See, so they're dog whistling to the base. Remember, these are Trump supporters. Okay? Remember, that's a Trump lawyer. They got Trump lawyers. They're Trump supporters. That's MAGA. We know what MAGA think about black folks, right? How many black folks in the MAGA cabinet right now? Okay? So we know what they think. And their behavior is very consistent with their ideologies, right? They're very consistent. Trump came in day one dismantling DEI, day one dismantling civil rights legislation that has been holding up for decades, meant to bring us closer to a fair and equal system, right? These are witnesses. Whoever they are, I wouldn't trust them. Hell, there was witnesses in the Emmett Till trial. There were people which went up there and lied. It ain't nothing for Mississippians to lie. Yeah. Now, all you good Mississippians, I ain't talking about y'all. But I'm saying you're in a state that has a sordid history for lying on black folks, a sordid history for covering up, getting on the stand, white person after white person after white person, get on that stand and just lie, raise their hand to the Bible and lie like a rug. They have no trepidation whatsoever, just lying. Witness after witness after witness after witness after witness, just lying. So we think just because they're a witness, just because they so-called are impartial, they don't have a so-called dog in the fight, get out of here, man. Them people, like they say, they're a close-knit community and they stick together. And if they got to lie for each other, they will lie for each other. Easy peasy. They have no reservations about it whatsoever. We're not believing it. Where were these witnesses a month ago? The witnesses could have came forward immediately and spoke up then. Where were they then? I'm sure if there were witnesses who would want to speak up on their behalf to provide them an alibi, that would have happened immediately. No, the witnesses are quiet, because if the witnesses tell what they witnessed, it ain't going to be in their favor. And that's why they haven't brought forth any witnesses to this point. That's why. Hey, man, a pair of lips will say anything. Anybody can get up there and say, I saw this. But, man, we don't believe you. We do not believe you. I don't care.
Go figure. Follow me.